I told you there was a place where invisible animals roamed for thousands of miles? Or that you could travel to somewhere like Mars without becoming an astronaut? This isn't an alien planet or really anywhere outside of our solar system, but this is a place that isn't often included on maps of our own home planet. This is Antarctica. It's the coldest, driest, windiest continent on our entire planet, and it's one that's often underestimated. It's actually larger than the US and Mexico combined. And in a lot of places, there's just nothing but ice, up to 3 miles thick in some locations. And that's often what people think about when they think about Antarctica, a place with lots of ice and maybe some penguins. But there's an area of Antarctica that's different, the McMurdo Dry Valleys. The dry valleys are the largest patch of Antarctica that's not fully covered in snow and ice. This place is actually a polar desert. And the reason it's that way is thanks in part to the Transantarctic mountain range that holds back the massive continental ice sheet from this location in Antarctica. So this is what it looks like to actually walk in this area in the dry valleys. As you can see, there's glaciers and some frozen lakes that freckle throughout, but it's a unique place where you actually get to feel and touch and walk on the continent itself, a continent that is otherwise hidden from us. This place in Antarctica is really one of the closest analogs we have to Mars here on Earth. And you can see why. There's no mammals, there's no trees, there's no reptiles, there's not a whole lot of anything. And as we come across this ridge, you'll be able to see the stark contrast between the dry valleys and the rest of Antarctica and that ice sheet. In fact, in 1903, this place was actually called the Valley of the Dead. But this place is actually host to a lot of life, if you have the right perspective. So to get that perspective, I packed up 200 pounds of gear, of drones and microscopes and enough clothes so that I could survive in Antarctica for 2 months. And I flew to New Zealand, which is one of the gateways to Antarctica. And this area of Antarctica, though, is highly protected because of how special it is. So typically only government-funded researchers are able to actually go to this place. So I joined a research team and did whatever I could for them, weighing soils, cleaning lab dishes, counting nematodes, whatever I could do. But they also hired me as a microscopist, someone who could film these invisible animals that no one really gets to see, and even researchers themselves don't really get to film. So to get to this area of Antarctica, I board a military aircraft, a C-130 airplane, and then I am flying for 8 hours, knee to knee, in an airplane with nothing but a bucket to go to the bathroom in, literally. There's no windows, only a couple of portholes, and so this is the very first view I get of Antarctica, peering out through one of those portholes. We then land on a compacted snow runway, and this is the very first time I'm able to put my feet on the continent, but even then, I'm still on snow and ice, and so we have to go further afield into the dry valleys. It's a really long journey. So my mission, once I got there, was twofold. One was to be an embedded researcher on the McMurdo Dry Valley's long-term ecological research team. This team is really amazing. They do a lot of measurements of this unique ecosystem and can tell us information about climate change and how it's affecting it since 1993. The other mission I had was to film a docu-series, since so few people get to see this area of Antarctica, and since this isn't really what people think of when they think of Antarctica. But that came with a couple of challenges. Because it's a highly protected area, I would have to film the entire thing for 2 months by myself. I wasn't able to take a film crew, I wasn't able to take an assistant, nothing. But the other challenge was also that because I'm filming invisible animals in an invisible ecosystem, I would have to film it at multiple orders of magnitude to really be able to tell the story of what exists here and how we can even see it. On top of that, a third challenge was to do it while camping in sub-freezing temperatures. I imagine a lot of you here might like camping or even being cold. I do not. But I love Antarctica, and so it's worth it. So I filmed it from the viewpoint of helicopters and from drones and from a lot of different orders of magnitude. And here's those drones and acquired satellite imagery, and also got it from the macroscopic perspective, and importantly, microscopes. I essentially became a wildlife filmmaker at the microscopic scale. I brought microscopes from my home in San Francisco to Antarctica and was able to actually film this invisible ecosystem. And this is incredibly important because documentaries often don't yet show microscopic animals in their features. And equally, scientists don't get a chance to film the creatures that they study, missing out on lots of behaviors and other important scientific knowledge that we could gain. So this is what I looked like for filming most of this series in Antarctica. Huddled over a series of lenses, freezing my butt off, and looking at things that no one else could see. And this is partially inspired by my love of a film from the 1970s called The Powers of 10. The Powers of 10 is a film that's still shown in art schools and science classrooms alike to this day, and it shows our existence on this planet from multiple orders of magnitude, going all the way out to get a cosmic perspective, as well as zooming down in to the atomic level. And I think by showing our existence at these multiple orders of magnitude, we can get a better sense of our place within the cosmos and also within the microcosmos. So you might be wondering how I got here. My background isn't in science or even filmmaking. I did go to art school. My degree is in graphic design. And one summer, I was watching a documentary about NASA during the early days. And I got so inspired by this documentary that I decided to send someone at NASA an email saying I was a huge fan, and I never expected to hear back. But serendipitously, I got a job at NASA from that email. And it completely changed my life and my perspective. And that's what I try to bring into my work now, is this perspective of both the cosmic view, looking at ourselves from all different angles, as well as a view of art and design. And I kind of try and use it as a catalyst for showing our place in the world from a unique perspective. So I'm really excited today because I got back from Antarctica in February, and I put together a 3-minute teaser of my docu-series. I haven't shown it to really anyone at all yet, and I'm really excited to share it with all of you. And so I hope this will help show you Antarctica from a unique perspective, but also reveal all of the invisible life that lives there. I want to tell the story of a continent that's waiting to be seen. A lot of people think of Antarctica as a place that's barren and mostly lifeless. But really, this is a continent that's absolutely dynamic, filled with so many ecosystems, hundreds of species, and it's at the precipice of change. This place is so special, and it's so important to protect places like these because the food chains and the creatures and the little critters that are all around me, in the soils, in the ice, everywhere, are really unlike anywhere else on the planet. Here, the microscopic world is king. Thank you. It's such an honor and honestly a huge responsibility to show this area that I know very few people will ever get a chance to visit and really showcase Antarctica in a way that it's not really been seen before. And it's also really important to show that areas of our Earth that are seen as barren and lifeless are actually full of life. And that has huge implications for how we understand our perspective here on Earth, but also how we understand searching for life elsewhere on other planets and moons in our solar system and beyond. And equally, without filming these creatures that often aren't seen, we risk losing entire ecosystems on our planet before even knowing what we've lost. And so some of these creatures are ones like this. This is a tardigrade, also known as a water bear. They're really, really cute. They have 8 legs and little claws. This one feeds on moss, and they're just fascinating creatures. They're famous for surviving the vacuum of space and in Antarctica, but they're also all across our planet. If we go outside right now and look at a sidewalk crack and it has moss in it, there's probably these little critters in there, which is just so cool. Another species of tardigrade that you saw in the teaser is this one. There's around 1,000 different species of tardigrades. This is like a predator tardigrade, and it doesn't feed on moss as much as it feeds on nematodes and other microscopic animals. And that's the important thing to remember, that these are actually animals that we can see. This one's probably around 1/2 millimeter in size, and it's kind of like the big lion of this area of Antarctica. You can see it lumbering around and hunting for food, and they're just so fascinating. There's other microscopic creatures like this. This is a rotifer, and it's famous for its Roomba-like mouth that it uses to sweep in food and eat it. And you can also see, you'll see something beating inside of it. That's actually not its heart, but its esophagus. And so these creatures are just so fascinating. Some are creepy, some are cute, but they're all amazing things that live all around us and in Antarctica. And this area of Antarctica is so, so special for hosting these kinds of creatures. There's also nematodes, which might not be as charismatic as a tardigrade, but they're no less fascinating. This one you'll actually see has a bunch of eggs in its belly, and those eggs are actually exact clones of itself. So this nematode actually survives by cloning itself in Antarctica. And for every human on Earth, there exist around 57 billion nematodes. There's a lot of these around to not be filming them and capturing what their lives are like. And so to me, this is what's so important, is that it's really about building our familiarity with the microcosmos around us so that we can better appreciate that whether we're walking outside in DC or in Antarctica, we're almost always surrounded by a jungle of microscopic animals if we just know where to look. From 4 billion miles away, we, Earth, look like little more than a microscopic speck of dust. This is Earth as seen from 4 billion miles away by the Voyager 1 spacecraft. But we know that if seen from a different perspective, we are actually an explosion of life. There's so much here. So without filming Antarctica and honestly all ecosystems around our world at multiple orders of magnitude, we don't yet have the full picture of how weird, whimsical, and wonderful our home planet really is. Thank you.